thinking what the judges are.
Welcome to the second half of our contest. This will be the International Speech Contest. This is particularly important because this is the one that involves some money on the part of Toastmasters. It was explained to me during the break that the spouse gets to travel on my dollar, not Toastmasters' dollar. So let me correct something right away.
Wait, you're buying the ticket?
The ticket is only for the contest winner. If the spouse wants to come along, the spouse, unfortunately, pays for his or her own way. So I just want to clarify that. I know. So I wanted to make sure that as soon as the person who goes on to the district championship and wins, that they don't have the expectation that it's 2 plane tickets, it's only 1. So I wanted to correct that immediately. Yes, sir.
We just want a couple weeks alone and we win. Can we send the spouse and we stay here?
You know what? You can, however, you're not going to be the international champion. So my suggestion, Brian, would be to bring the spouse and keep things good. All right. We're ready to begin again. I would like to bring up our Toastmaster again, Mr. Stan Piskorski.
Thank you, Frank. So if by some chance during the break you turned on the ringers, you can turn them off again or leave them on so we can embarrass you by all staring at you in the middle of the speech. This, as you heard, is the international speech, and for those of you who are guests this afternoon, the International Speech Contest is one where the contestants try to have a speech that is of interest to a general audience, and the winner of it eventually becomes the world champion of public speaking. And we happen to be very lucky this year because the incumbent world champion of public speaking is from District 30, our district. So if you get the chance to hear Prez talk about his experiences with that and what he's learned, I think it's well worth your time to do so, because I have never seen anyone work so hard in such a short length of time to learn everything he possibly could about the art and science of speaking, and it certainly paid off. So we're going to see what other folks have learned about the art and science of speaking in the International Speech Contest. Let me give you the order of the contestants so that you can follow along if you have the home version. Our first speaker is Kevin Donahoe. Our second speaker, Brian Vanderjack. Third, Nathaniel Strauch. And let me correct the agenda. It's S-T-R-A-U-C-H. I pronounce that Strauch, like Bach. Fourth is Connor Canine. Fifth is Ray Miller. And sixth is Jim Green. So let us let the second contest, the International Speech Contest, begin. Our first speaker, Kevin Donahoe. Words are unsigned checks. Words are unsigned checks. Kevin Donahoe.
Do, da. That's all I want to say to you. Contest chair, fellow Toastmasters, honored guests and guests, that song about how people communicate was a big hit for Sting in the 80s. It resonated with me because I also was interested in how people communicate. Because that was the time we brought home our first baby, Andrea. I was so fascinated watching her learn how to interact with her world. I especially liked our nonsense conversations we would have. I remember one in particular where it was right after I had changed her diapers. I said to her, da. And she said, Ababa.
Gee-goo-goo.
Ababa.
Ah-goo.
Agoo. That took me by surprise. I tried it again. Agoo. Agoo. That fascinated me. That was the first time she'd made a sound on purpose. She cried all the time when she was hungry or wet. But these were specific sounds she made on purpose. And I had this revelation that before you can talk, before you can form words, you have to make sounds on purpose. Now this is very interesting to me because I've always been obsessed with words. I think it starts with my dad, who would never answer the phone like a normal person. It would ring and he'd go, "Greetings and salutations." So it wasn't just a vocabulary he gave me. He also taught me about puns. Say, "Kevin, did I tell you about the two antennae that got married? The ceremony was okay, but the reception was excellent." Puns, jokes, crossword puzzles. I loved playing Scrabble and Bottle. I really came to love words. But are words all fun and games? Poets, priests, and politicians have words to thank for their positions. Words that scream for your submission. Sting talks about the negative sides of words in that part of the song. And I certainly learned early on that people could use words to lie to me. What took me longer to realize is that there is a power in words alone. The blogger Mark Barnes points out an interesting fact about first names versus words. For instance, you may know a few Kevins, and they're all different. You may know a Kevin who's tall, gray-haired, competent communicator. He's an engineer, sometimes a little conservative, sometimes not so conservative. But what's great is that first name of his allows for all of that, and a lot more. It allows for the entire length, width, and breadth of his soul. But if we take one of those words we use to describe him and use it as a label, we'll call Kevin an engineer. All of a sudden, large parts of him start to fall away. We focus on maybe his comfort with numbers or his discomfort with social situations. Or how about if we label him a conservative? Now we can start making all kinds of assumptions, value judgments. We can kind of guess how he's going to do in certain circumstances. It all changes. What happens when you use a label is you take the infinite boundaries of a person's soul and you pound it down to this tiny little caricature of what that person is. It makes it easier to deal with. So is that what words are? Are words a blunt instrument we use to pound out the inconvenient details of our lives? Words are hard to find. They're checks I've left unsigned from the banks of chaos in my mind. I think that's the most interesting observation Sting makes in that song. So how are words like unsigned checks? Well, when I fill out a check, I put down the dollars and the cents. I know exactly how much that check is worth. But if I don't sign it, any value of that check is given by the recipient. Likewise with words. If I go to the banks of chaos in my mind, the grand concepts, the big ideas, the deep thoughts, the accurate data, and the interesting trivia, and I pull these words out to communicate these thoughts to you, I think I know exactly what I'm saying. I know exactly what I mean. As a matter of fact, I've noticed that everyone else speaks in ambiguities, but I am quite accurate. The truth is, we have to know that the final understanding of our words comes from the listener. So we have to remember that our words can cause pain. They can cause damage. We can't ever forget, though, the words can also bring joy and fun. It probably does us well to always remember that our words are never far from just being sounds we make on purpose. Or finally, in the words of the person who really got me thinking about words, good. Thank you, Rick.
We have 1 minute of silence while the judges mark their ballots. Our third contestant, Nathaniel Strauch. I need a space, I need a place. I need a space, I need a place. Nathaniel Strauch.
Good morning, Mr. Toastmaster, contest chair, fellow Toastmasters, and our guests. Thank you for coming and listening to me today. As I prepared to come and speak in front of you today, I began a search. I was looking for a place, a space in which to create. And I was at home and I realized that it wasn't happening. I wanted to bring something that I felt said what I really thought, and also something that I felt that was of value. And I began sitting on the couch at home. I was browsing Facebook on my iPad, and I told myself, you really need to get that speech started. I continued scrolling, a few more memes, a few more YouTube video links. You really should get going now. And I told myself, yeah, in a little bit. If you don't get going right now, you never will. And it dawned on me. I had to do something. I had to get out there and prompt myself. So I decided that I would get in my car and drive somewhere where I thought it could happen. Do you ever look for a place, a space, somewhere where you feel like you can get in touch with your deeper self? I know I do. Some of my favorite places were when I was in college. There was a trail next to the campus with a creek next to it. I would find places along that creek and I would sit down and I would listen to the babbling water next to me. And I would listen to the wind go through the leaves in the trees. Another place, I remember sitting next to a pond. I like bodies of water. And I would look out at night and see the stars and the moon and remind myself how big life is. But sometimes I'm looking for a place where I can get to my creative side. In this place, I'm focused, I'm open, and amazing things can happen there. When I go there, there's no distractions, nobody's talking to me, and I'm all ears to what comes up. So in the silence there, an abyss of nothing, there becomes an uneasiness, a sense that I want to fill that space. And then it starts coming up. My imagination, my visions, my ideas. And so, in that place, I find that that's sometimes the most important thing, to have a place where I can hear myself. Because sometimes the world isn't listening. Nobody will listen to me. And I go there because I'm the only person who does listen to myself. So sometimes it is the most important thing and the strongest thing that I can do is go somewhere where I can listen to those important things and be able to bring that up so that I can hear it and find my voice. So as I was preparing to come and speak to you today, I was sitting at home. I couldn't get beyond the distractions. There was the internet, the TV, people to talk to. It just wasn't happening. So I decided, okay, I'm going to go to college, the community college. And I went there and I looked inside the classroom building. I was looking at the classrooms, and there were people already in there. So I couldn't go and get a classroom. I went over to the library, and I asked them, can I have a study room? They asked, do you have more than one? No. And then I tried going back over to the performance center, thinking maybe one of those practice rooms they use for musicians, but they were all reserved for somebody else. I began to think maybe this wasn't such a good idea. Maybe I'm wasting my time. And I told myself, one more time, try one more time. So I went to another level of the classroom building, and I found a room where I could close the door and speak out loud to myself, and nobody else could hear me and would make faces at me or think that I was acting odd. I put my papers down on the table, and then a phrase came to mind. I need a place, I need a space. It wasn't a speech, but I thought maybe I could start working with it. And here's what I wrote. I need a place, I need a space. To speak my mind and not have to rewind back through the words that I just heard come out of my mouth. I need a place, I need a space to make a mistake and it back take the way that it goes through fits and throws in my mind. I need a place, I need a space where I can be myself, to read the book off the shelf for all of its ideas as I explore my many careers in this wide world. I need a place, I need a space. I need it more than anything, because all else is a little sting as I lose a sense of myself, because I need no help when I am in my place. Do you look for a place or a space, somewhere where you can get in touch with yourself? I know I do. And I'm here to tell you that if you don't think that you can come up with creative things, if you don't think that you can have a voice in the world, I'm here to tell you that you can. Because maybe you're like me. Maybe you're sitting at home reading stories about things going on in the world, and you want to be a part of it and make some of those stories. Maybe you're like me, and you need to find a place where you can get some peace and feel a little bit more grounded. Or maybe you're like me, and you tell yourself, I can do extraordinary things. I just need a little space. I just need a little place. Mr. Toastmaster?
I have 1 minute of silence while the judges work the balance. He wasn't here for the announcement. So so we can all stare at him while he turns his phone on. Just his luck it was during the moment of silence. Our fifth contestant, Ray Miller. Prison Break. Prison Break, Ray Miller.
Fellow Toastmasters and welcome guests, an age-old question asks, which came first, the chicken or the egg? A tiny chicken embryo floats in the warmth and comfort of an ocean of love. All its care is provided for as it develops in the way that nature intended. Life is bliss. As it continues to grow, the egg becomes cramped and confining. The food source, gone. Fortunately, nature has provided the baby chick with all the tools it needs to escape its prison and thrive. A beak and the pecking reflex. Instinctively, the baby chick pecks away at the wall of his eggshell prison until a tiny crack appears. Emboldened, it persistently pecks away, creating a hole large enough to crawl through. Wet and weary, it emerges into a brave new world. An incubator at the Museum of Science and Industry? Where's Mama? What are the chicken's choices? We imprison them in cages, impede their movement, steal their eggs, breed them to have big breasts, destined for a grocer's freezer near you. We develop much the same way. Tiny embryos, floating in the warmth and comfort of our womb. All our needs provided over 9 months as we develop the way that nature intended. Suddenly, we're thrust out into a brave new world. Nature provides us with all the tools we need to thrive and survive. We can choose to do whatever we want in life. But what happens? We start to give our power away. During childhood, well-meaning mentors manipulate our malleable minds. Parents, teachers, clergy, siblings, schoolmates. Stop! That's far enough. You might get hurt. Quit your daydreaming. You've gone as far as you can go. Quit while you're ahead. I'm gonna tell. You can't make me. You can't win. The list goes on. When does you can't become I can't? Slowly, the walls of our private prison appear. We call it our comfort zone, and we rarely venture out. Some prison inmates merely while away the time behind bars, just existing, while others are constantly hatching plans to escape. We hire prison guards to keep them in. Psst. Why aren't you trying to escape? Who guards your prison? Did I hear prison break? How do do you know if you're living or just existing? Two ways to tell: movement and growth. Haven't you ever poked something to find out if it still moves? What about your movement towards your goals and dreams? Have you lost sight of them? Are you stuck in the muck of the past? Frozen in fear? Have analysis paralysis. Snap out of it. Take action. Prison break! What about growth? Are you still growing? A potted plant only grows until it becomes root bound. Solution? A bigger pot. Is your comfort zone stunting your growth? Expand it. Break through to the courage zone, the land of new and different. That's why the chicken crossed the road. It's never too late to grow. 65 years old, broke, living out of his car, Colonel Sanders starts franchising Kentucky Fried Chicken, much to the dismay of millions of chickens around the world. He believed the chicken came first. How are you going to peck away at the private walls of your prison? Dust off your dreams. Exercise your brain. Pursue your passion. No regrets. Come on. The coast is clear. Time for a prison break. Leave your baggage behind. Don't chicken out.
We have 1 minute of silence while we check and mark our ballots. Our 6th contestant, Jim Green. Peeling back the layers, peeling back the layers, Jim Green.
The headline read, "Desperate Rescue on I-94. The firefighter ran as fast as he could from one mangled semi to another, seeking the most critically injured in a seemingly endless stretch of crumpled cars and trucks along Interstate 94 in Michigan City. Swirling snow blurred the scene. Metal screeched as first responders cut and peeled back car doors and truck cabs to get to the wounded. Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, honored guests, little did I know that January disaster in Michigan City would impact my life. But on that day, rescuers needed steely nerves, compassion, quick thinking. Mick Pollock was laying tile on his kitchen floor when his pager went off. Within minutes, the volunteer fire chief found himself in the midst of a war zone. People were trapped and twisted, he said. You could see the fear in their eyes. When people are stuck in cars, they look at you like you're Moses. Part the sea. Save us. Can't show no fear or panic. Last fall, I was working in my garage. My cell phone went off. My wife was hysterical. She fell. Broken hip, broken wrist, concussion. Where are you? That address doesn't exist. I'm driving up and down streets. Where could she be? There she is. I'm beside her. I called 911. The ambulance, the fire truck, they stopped by mistake a block away, and I'm out in the middle of the road waving, Moses, Moses. They saved her. Within minutes, she was safe in the ER. My wife experienced a very good day for those firefighters and rescuers. But I started thinking, what do they do on their really bad days? Because I was having a whole series of really bad days at work. So I picked up a book written by a famous Chicagoan, Studs Terkel, called Working, back in the 1970s. It was an oral history of Americans, a window into the thoughts, the lives of everyday Americans, the waitresses, the salesmen, the firefighters, the people like you and me. And Terkel said our work is as much a search for daily meaning as it is for daily bread. So I started reading the stories in that book. And as I did, they started to cut and to peel back layers within me. I read about people in despair that hated their jobs. I thought of the job I had as a bill collector for a credit card company that used to tie my stomach in knots every morning. I remember calling an elderly woman in her 70s. I said, ma'am, you're 2 payments behind on your Suzuki motocross motorcycle. She said, what? She said, I don't own a motorcycle. I said, well, does someone in your family? Well, yes, my grandson. Did you sign a piece of paper for him? Well, yes, but it's his motorcycle. No, it's your motorcycle. 2 payments behind. Pay up. But there was good stories in that book. I read the story of Aunt Catherine Hayes, a retired farmer from eastern Kentucky in the Cumberlands. She said, housework and farming's all I'd done. Never worked at nothing else. 18 hours out of 24. Out of doors, the house at night. I never got much rest for what little time I was in bed. My mom was raised on a farm in central Wisconsin. I remember visiting my grandparents. They had a big wood stove. It heated the whole house. My grandma would bake homemade bread in that oven. She's passed away, but I wanted to call her this week and say, Grandma, I'm burning the crust of my frozen pizzas. And I've got a wall-mounted convection oven. What's my problem? I said, Jim, technology is not the answer. Grandma, let me get out my iPhone and put that on Facebook. So story after story I read. And layer after layer got cut and peeled back within me. Until I was led back to that Thursday afternoon in Michigan City. A burst of lake effect snow, whiteout, can't see. Brake lights, sliding, can't stop. Metal screeching, truck on top of truck. Trapped, can't move. 46 vehicles, 18 semis, 3 dead, 20 injured. Just Rose, the deputy fire chief from Michigan City, said when it was all said and done, he went home and he kissed his wife and his sons. And he said, it's days like this that you appreciate what really has meaning in terms of life. And that's what Studs Terkel was getting at in his book when he said, we search for daily meaning as well as daily bread. Just Rose found it in the love of his wife and his sons. And I believe he saw them in the faces of those he rescued that day. That love gave him the strength to tap into that boundless energy for life that came so naturally to Aunt Catherine Hayes. As I read the story of Just Rose, I was led back to that Sunday night in November, kneeling beside my wife. And I realized it was her love that allowed me to rise above the despair and the negativism in my jobs. That allowed me to pick up a phone and hear the voice of my grandmother instead of listening to a number on a computer. You're stuck in a job you don't like, you've got a situation that's just not good. I urge you to listen to the stories of others. We have such a unique opportunity in Toastmasters. People's speeches are windows into their thoughts and their lives. And they can cut, they can peel back layers within us. They can rescue the joy, the hope, the passion for life. Mr. Toastmaster.
Could everyone play the Jeopardy theme in their brain well and otherwise remain silent while the judges complete their ballots and they get collected by the vote counters?
Toastmaster, we have all the ballots.
Thank you very much. We have a hand for our judges and votes. You know, I'm from the old school. I've been a member of Toastmasters almost 30 years now. I think this is my 30th year coming up. And I hate to say this, but I liked it better when the judges just held up their ballots. It's like, oh, we've got to be quiet and secretive about who's the judge. Come on, we know who they are. Just look around at who's writing down things between things. It's a ludicrous rule.
Amen, brother.
Can I hear another amen? Amen. Seriously. Okay, so you all know the drill. We get to interview the contestants. Let's start with the tabletop contestants. Could you please come up here and stand in the order that you spoke? Tell the truth, you know. That'd be really old to remember that one.
Oh, I remember.
No, not really.
Well, not really.
Well, watch Game Show Network. Well, Carol, it's a pleasure to see you. first of all, again, I've got some things that everybody always wants to know these questions. I'm so glad that they're part of the script because it helps me remember this. Number one, how long have you been in Toastmasters?
11 years.
11 years. Which club are you representing?
I'm representing Hispano Americano,
Okay.
916266.
Gosh, she knows the number. I've been in the same club for over 20 years. I still don't know the number. And it's only got 4 digits.
At least it doesn't have one.
Yeah. What? Yeah. And what is your Toastmaster educational level?
I am in that club, I am working towards my CC.
Ooh, in that club, one might assume then you've done other things besides that?
Yes, I have.
Let's see, okay. You can talk about the other things.
And the other things are, I actually hold my Advanced Communicator Silver and my Advanced Leader Silver.
Thank you very much, that's very good. I just want to ask you one question. It says here that your occupation is retired, but at the same time, your notable accomplishment is to go back to school and get your massage therapist certification. I would assume you're not just going to stay retired is that correct?
That's it.
So what caused you to decide you wanted to do that?
There is a thing called supporting yourself. Minor details. But also, it's a way to keep the brain active. There is this thing out there called ALZ.
Yeah.
Some of us know it as Alzheimer's, and it sneaks up on you. It's your best friend when you're in your 30s, and by the time you get to be 65, it's really your best friend. And so this is one of the reasons why you go back to school.
Sure. Okay. Thanks very much. Well, thank you for participating in the contest. Here's, of course, a certificate of participation.
Oh, thank you, sir.
Barbara Green. Okay, so the 3 questions. How long have you been in Toastmasters?
This April, I begin my 3rd year.
3 down. And what club are you representing today?
My first club was the Center, but now I'm a member of Chautauqua, and I'm representing them.
Okay, good. So more than one club. Are you still in the original club?
Absolutely.
Wonderful. And what is your Toastmasters educational level?
I'm a CC, working on my bronze.
Okay, wonderful. You know, I want to ask about the best audiobook you've read recently. We talked during the break about the fact that she drives from Palos Hills to, which one is the W up north?
Winnetka.
Winnetka, yeah, I knew it was a W one. One of the W suburbs in the north. And you listen to audiobooks. What's the one that you've recently listened to that you think has the greatest value, that you'd recommend to others?
May I change that answer slightly? In
Take the
terms
topics
of
person, what should I expect?
what audiobook have I recorded lately that I prefer? Because I've recorded 6, and they are on audible.com. And my favorite is one by a Henry Harrison Epps Jr. called The Golden Rule. Now, do unto others as you would have them do unto you is part of the Judeo-Christian tradition. What I didn't know was that Confucius and every other tradition also has the same philosophy.
So you're one of the voices that I hear if I listen to Audible?
You betcha.
Oh, cool. Isn't that nice to know? There's a job for speaking. What do you know? Well, thank you for participating this afternoon.
A great pleasure.
Okay, Christina, have you memorized the questions yet?
I have.
And what are they?
I joined Toastmasters in October this past year. I'm from
Okay.
Woodridge, 983.
What 3 did you?
And I just completed my 4th manual or speech from the CC manual.
Wonderful. Well, you jumped in with both feet, I can see. Now, I noticed that in your biography here it says your interests and hobbies are running and keeping up with your toddler. Isn't that the same
They
activity?
pretty much are the exact same thing. Except with my toddler, I run inside in tight circles. And I'm usually more winded.
Yeah, I can totally relate to that. I understand completely. What is the one thing that you want to teach your son that you may have learned out of your experiences so far with Toastmasters?
I definitely the prison break speech. Get out of your comfort zone. Get into the courage zone. I have a lot of experience with people that have limited thinking, and it baffles my mind. And today's, especially in America, we have so many resources and information and technology. You can dream it, you can do it, we just gotta dream it. And that's what I want to teach him.
That's wonderful, thank you. Well, here's your certificate of participation. Thank you so much. Okay, Jerry, your turn.
I am Jerry. I'm going into my second year at Oak Brook Speakers. I am still working on my first CC. And did I forget anything?
No, I think that's all. Is there anything else? Okay, good. So I have to ask you, you've got down two hobbies. One is golf and one is cooking. Which one is more frustrating?
Golf. Golf is so much more.
And because?
Because you never know what's going to happen. Cooking, I come from an Italian family. We own family restaurants, so I know what's going to be at the end of the meal. I know when I'm cooking it, how it's going to taste, how it's going to be. Even if it's something new and I'm making it up, it always ends up great. Golf, I can go out on the first hole and think it's going to be a great day and I'm going to hit everything perfect, get out all the sand traps if I end up in them, and it ends up being the worst day. And then I'll go out there thinking it's going to be the worst day ever and I score my best. I'm like, it's unpredictable.
Yes, but I have heard that the worst day of golf is better than the best day at work. Or
That is
something
true.
like
That is true.
that. Well, thank you for participating.
Thank you.
In this that all of you on the right side of the room are not as good as the ones on the left side. Of course, it depends on what your perspective is. Thank you, Tabletop Speaker, for And now we're going to hear from the international speech contestants. Please come down in the order that you were speaking in. Everyone's watching? Imagine that. Do you know the questions?
Oh, yes. I have been in Toastmasters for almost 2 years. Very close.
Okay.
And I am representing One Lincoln Center Speakeasy. And I am a competent communicator. CC.
Okay. And what is Killer Carts?
You know,
Did you hear that laugh?
Well, it's one of those. It's a little bit of a bait, because you ask what your accomplishments are, and I always write down the same things. And that was something I was very proud of. Growing up, I had this life-changing friendship with two other fellows, and we were an interesting group because I had this one guy who was open to creativity, but what it was really about was making things and doing things. And he was very into that. And then I had this other friend who was very, very creative. He's a stage manager in Broadway right now on a big play with Bryan Cranston. It's amazing. I was the guy in the middle because this guy wanted to go do stuff. This guy wanted to think about stuff, and it's like, hey, let's get something done. So between the three of us, you had to have all three of us. You couldn't just be one of us. We did all kinds of crazy stuff for our parish, and one of them was we said, let's make a movie. And it was this friend who did stuff. He says, let's make a movie. I'll make a movie. And it's painful because this is the 70s. This wasn't. Everyone's like, oh, sure, I'll make a movie right now. Get out your phone. No, you had to get a camera. We'd buy the special film, and if you goofed up, it cost a lot of money. So we made this movie that was basically based on Jaws, about a shopping cart that killed people. And we were in high school, and we would sneak in. It was the first all-night grocery store in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, so we snuck in about 3 in the morning and filmed it. And they were like, what are those guys doing? I had a trench coat on. I was the big hero, so...
So you're the precursor to Jackass as well.
That's right.
Congratulations. It's sort of like the old, in one of the musicals, let's paint the barn and put on the show.
Exactly.
Well, thank you so much for participating.
Thank you.
And your turn.
I am Nathaniel Strout. I am a member of the HCSC Toastmasters, which is the corporate club of Blue Cross and Blue Shield. I'm club president. And, I'm sorry, can you prompt me with the rest of the question?
And how long have you been a member?
Oh, yes. Probably going about 9 months now. And I'm a 7 speeches on my way to my
Just
first
barely
CC.
qualified.
And,
Guess it shows you learn a lot in a few months, Ken, huh?
yeah, you can learn a lot.
Well, I'd like to ask you about one thing. Since I was just a star, and that's a rank in Boy Scouts for those of you who don't know, and you were an Eagle,
Yes.
what was it that caused you to decide you wanted to go all the way to Eagle Scout?
Well, first of all, I came from a family of Eagle Scouts. My grandfather, both my uncles, my grandfather's brothers were Eagle Scouts. So very long history. I really liked the outdoors and survival techniques, all of that. I was all about it before I even got there. So I was rearing to go into Boy Scouting, and then it was just part of, going to that level of achievement, just like everybody else.
Well, it's a very, very rare thing. Having been a Scout, I know how difficult it is to attain that. And it's something that is worth looking back on even today, at long past that. People will look at that on your job application and go, oh, Eagle Scout, that means something good. So congratulations, and congratulations for this, which we'll assume you'll get to the DTM, which is the Eagle Scout of So tell us your background here real quick.
Okay, the drill.
Right.
I'm a member of, I'm representing West Suburban Toastmasters, which is 930, and I'm also a member and vice president of education of the Downers Grove Club, which is 274.
And all showing off with the numbers.
And let's see, I've been a member since April of 2012, both of them, and I received my CC in January.
Thank you so much. Now, I say that you wrote down your favorite quote from Albert Einstein is, imagination is more important than knowledge. Why'd you pick that one? Because he's got so many good ones.
Yeah, so, well, I think that, and the quote goes on to say that while our knowledge is finite, it's what we know today, but imagination is open-ended. And when I prepare speeches, I'm always keying into imagination. How can I make this different? How can I make it better? So it's really more a matter in your life of imagining what could be possible and then going, to achieve that. So that's why I like it.
Excellent.
Besides that, he was very,
He's a smart guy.
eccentric.
Yeah. And he was eccentric. He was wonderfully eccentric. Well, thank you so much for participating. Here's your certificate of participation.
I'm Jim Green. I've been a member of the Center of Toastmasters since, I believe, June of 2012. This spring, I also joined the Chautauqua Toastmasters in Lamont. I'm an Advanced Communicator Bronze, which I achieved last year. Getting ready to start working on Advanced Communicator Silver, which I can start.
Now, I have one question. You're the second person here that has written down Tai Chi as a hobby. How long have you been doing it, and what do you think is the best benefit for someone to get into Tai Chi?
I've been doing it probably 3 years.
And the benefit?
2 things. One, increased dexterity as you get older, you increase your flexibility in your joints. And hopefully at some point I'll get to the point where I can actually do some self-defense. But right now it's really health benefits.
Wonderful. That seems like a reasonable thing to do to me, and it's nice and slow.
Very slow,
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's about my speed, so I maybe I should have been. Well, thank you, Jim, for participating. Now, my part is done, and I get to turn it back over to our contest master. So, your turn.
What an excellent job. I could see why he was a district champion for table topics. Very extemporaneous, very off the cuff. all those one-liners. Oh, so you were the precursor for Jackass. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. My job today is simple. I get to introduce two people who are going to give to you all the information that you are dying to hear right now. First, let me introduce our Lieutenant Governor of Education and Training, Donna Weston. Lieutenant Governor. And our Division Governor for the Southwest Division, Valerie Fuson. Donna and Valerie will announce all of our contest winners.
First, I want to thank our contest chair. Ms. Duncan. She did a great job of organizing and getting everyone in the places that they needed to be. And I'd like to thank our functionaries, our judges. Will our functionaries, not the judges, please stand? And let's give a great thanks to our functionaries and our judges. Putting on a contest requires a lot of help. And so we really want to thank all of our helpers today because they did a fantastic job of keeping us on schedule and doing all the little jobs that we need to do. So thank you. Now for the time that you're waiting for, contest winners.
Yes.
We're going to start with the table topics. And we have one, we're going to start with the third place. And that is Jerry Cincinnati. Want to take a picture? Or, no, I'm good. Okay. Anybody? Anybody. Great, thanks. Second place, Anna Simeon. And now for first place. First place winner will go on to the district at the spring conference, and that'll be on Friday night, April 25th. And our first place winner, Barbara Green.
Toastmasters has done a lot for me, and I hope to be able to give back some small portion. Thank you.
And now for the International Speech Contest winners. We do have one disqualification for timing. And our third place winner is Jim Green. Our second place winner, Ray Miller. The winner of the International Speech Contest will go on to compete at the district level on April 26th, Saturday. And second place winner should also be there. First place winner. Great contest, and we'll see you at the district. The meeting's adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you all.